All right, welcome back to another WrightStew Podcast. I'm Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright in Speaker Studio here. We got a guest today, dude.
We have a guest, Nolan McLean.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely good to have you with us. So Nolan, currently a New York Mets top prospect, graduate of Oklahoma State University,
Yep.
and then near and dear to my heart, Brian, a Garner Trojan.
Yep.
Incredible. And lives or grew up near me, which is even more incredible, and figured out a way to get to Garner, which may not be a good sign for my kids.
If he's driving that 15 to 20 minutes to get to a better school, that I don't know. Maybe I need to figure something out.
Yeah. So Nolan, thanks for being here. We're excited to hear about your story growing up, what it was like for you playing baseball, playing football, playing basketball, and then progressing from Little League to high school to college into pro ball. And then we'd love to hear some of your draft stories as well. So let's start right there. When did you have an idea that you had a real chance to play? And for you, it's a really different story, either pro baseball or pro football.
I'd say pretty young, honestly. I knew I loved it more than most kids. It was more fascinating to me to be good at baseball than it was to go hunting, fishing, or play in the lake or something like that. Like I would rather be playing baseball or competing in some sort of sport. From the standpoint, I knew pretty young. And then I was lucky enough that my dad has good connections growing up through college baseball. At this time, it was UNC. And
That's all right.
we would go to a lot of games there.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 12, 13 years old and be like, I can play here. Like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much my dad believed, but he knew I was better than most kids. And I was really good for my age. But, I mean, when you're 13, nobody knows what you're going to be when you're 18. So, but like in my mind, I think at that time, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, these guys are competing against some of the best players in the world. And that's what I want to do. Like, it's not about anything except, I guess, an ego thing for me of being against the best players in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, so Paulie told us that he hit last when he was like 6 or 7 years old in the lineup because he was the best player.
T-ball.
Yeah, T-ball. So, because, the last kid, clear the bases, right?
No one knows.
I mean, I was telling him they told him that, right? And so when you're like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, were you hitting last or could you see a difference then, right?
Yeah, I think from a throwing standpoint, I always could really throw.
Yeah.
And hitting, like, had tons of power at a young age. And I just had a knack for being good at sports, whether it was basketball, football, or baseball. Like, I was just pretty good at it.
Hey, did your parents, did they play?
Yeah, my dad was an athlete. Played all three in high school. He told me he was terrible at football. And so growing up, I was like a bigger guy, like always a little bit taller, a little bit stronger than everybody else. And my dad was like 5'8", $120 type of build until he got to college. So he played Harness Central. He is where he went to high school, and then he went to App State for a little bit and ended up just dropping out. And then he did a tryout for I think the Reds. He told me made the team, and then just couldn't afford it at that time.
A lot of guys.
Yeah.
Paul's got some stories about that. Where a lot of
So-
guys were like, "Hey, I can't make this.
I can't do it on $850 a month sort of thing.
So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure after that he started working at Campbell. It's like grounds crew and maintenance and stuff like that, and then ended up opening up a landscaping business.
Cool.
Right around that time, it was pretty much when I was born.
So you mentioned when 13 years old, you could start to see yourself differentiating. You were a little bigger. Did you see kids who at that same age were also smaller but progressed and grew? Because that's where we're coaching right now. We're coaching at the 13U.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say I don't even know if I was bigger. I guess looking back, I thought I was.
Hey, that's good.
Like a couple age groups up.
Yeah.
My dad was always big on like just throw them into the fire, let them figure it out. Like I never had a hitting coach, pitching coach, or anything like that. It was like just let them figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I was playing probably 15U when I was 13 and so on from there. So I would say there's tons of guys that were super late bloomers. Where like looking back, I'm like, man, I had no idea that guy would have ever played in college because he wasn't very good when we were 13. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, it's encouraging because that's what we tell when we talk to the parents we coach with and the other kids. Like, look, we don't care how good you are at 13.
Exactly.
Let's talk about when you're 17 and 18. Everybody's kind of hit their growth spurt. Everybody should be filled out. They should be kind of directionally who they will be.
Yeah.
And there's always the really late bloomers, but that's kind of where we talk. So it's encouraging for you to say that. It's like, wow, there's.
Yeah, and as a young guy, right? What are you, 23?
Yeah, I'm 23. And so my dad coached me in that era, I would say, like 10 to 13. My dad was pretty involved in the coaching side for me. And his biggest thing was like just developing us as kids. And like, if we like baseball, he wanted to develop us as baseball, but like, I mean, at the same time, doing it as human beings as well, and like not living and dying on 13U baseball.
Yeah.
Not going all out for the Top Gun championship or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, how many rings do you have? And you could,
giving back to Wes Gregory at this point.
You mean you don't have like stored like on a trophy case?
I got something, or my mom's has something.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Next to like your Team USA jersey is your
I always tell her like it looks like I when I go back home I'm like, Mom, it looks like I passed away and you're like crying.
Memorial.
This is like crazy. So I mean, I was lucky enough to keep a few Oklahoma State jerseys, football and baseball, and she's got all of them framed.
Oh, that's well. Hey, as we look at my stuff on the wall here, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Looking back, it's cool to have, but like having it all in your room, it's like your bedroom. It's like that's a little. I guess getting back to like, my dad was just big on like not peaking at 13 years old.
Yeah,
and that's something I think that struggles more with parents than it does players.
Yeah.
Parents want to see little Johnny just hit 3 home runs against kids he's way better than. Instead of my dad was like, hey, go play against kids who are better than you, stronger than you, faster than you, and you'll figure out the game much better. So
kind of the fail fast methodology.
Yeah. He thought the best way to improve is to fail more often, which I think is still true to this day. So
you can't fail all the time though. Then you're batting zero.
Yeah.
Well, that is kind of the baseball. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing that's tough for kids a lot of times when they transition because they haven't failed a lot. Right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they go to college and there's a little bit more failure. You go to pro baseball, there's a lot more failure. And it's hard if you haven't had those points in your life where you have failed some.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially now, like you can go to college and if you're a young college kid, you could be playing with guys 6, 7, 8 years older than you. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you get in the pro ball, same thing.
And you're still working on finishing up your last stage of puberty. Like
Yeah.
I think that's what's tough for a lot of guys going into college, and especially like pro ball. You were out of high school,
Yeah.
you go in there, and not a whole lot of guys are speaking English. There's guys who are older, way older than you.
That was one of
It's like it's scary, and like
yeah.
I mean, looking back, like I remember when I first got drafted by the Mets, I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine not going to college and having that development stage for me. And I was a mature kid too,
Yeah.
and I couldn't imagine like just getting thrown into the fire of being like.
Well, no, go back and listen to our draft stories because you'll hear some of my nonsense.
That where
I saw kids that weren't ready, right? Physically, tools-wise, you could see they had some stuff, but mentally, emotionally, maybe not.
Yeah, and that's what I think matters a lot more the older you get is like how you're going to handle like going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Like it's gonna happen for getting shelled against a bunch of guys who have seen 95 their whole life. Like it's gonna happen, but I think the cool part about pro ball is you're gonna play again the next day.
that's right.
Oh, it's the best.
Play 145 more. So
Yeah. Oh, and that's some of. So you played travel ball. You kind of grew up in the travel ball era. Played for the Dirtbags locally, and then nationally as well. I'm sure played in some pretty big tournaments. But baseball, you play 4 or 5 games a weekend, as opposed to pro ball or even like baseball is not meant to be played 4 or 5 games on a weekend, right? You can reset a little quicker, but at the same time, it kills arms and that sort of thing.
yeah,
So
it's tough to. I mean, I guess when you're going through it, because when you're 17, or I guess it'd be 17 in the travel ball world, you're like, man, I feel good all the time. Like,
yeah, but you're 17. Yeah,
4 hours and I feel fine.
I cracked a Red Bull. Yeah.
The Bojangles chicken sandwich and I'm good to go. Like, versus, I mean, when you're 23 and you're going off 4 hours of sleep, you're like, God, that's miserable.
And you just took a bus ride from like Binghamton to Altoona or something.
Yeah, you go from Binghamton to Portland, Maine, and you're like, oh, this is a hike.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
I spent some time in the Eastern League. Yeah, I know about
a lot
that.
of fun. Like, I think just playing cards or hanging out on the bus and
Yeah.
learning how to communicate with some of the guys who don't speak English and I don't speak Spanish very well, but learning how to bridge that gap,
Yeah.
like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So let's go back a step. So high school, your senior year got cut short by COVID. What were some of the things as you're moving towards the draft that were kind of going through your head? So you were obviously playing football and baseball. And so for those folks that are out there who don't know, so Nolan was a legitimately really amazing quarterback. And so talk about your recruiting process. What did that look like? Because I know you wanted to do both sports, right? And you had offers from, it was State, ECU, Oklahoma State.
Yeah. So there was that narrowed down my decisions very fast because there was tons of schools that would like want me to play only football and tons that would only want me to play baseball. And so from like I'd say junior year on of high school, I was like, I want to play both. Like I've seen people do it. I know I can do it. And so that narrowed down my decisions very fast to like schools that felt like they would allow me to do both. And so I think like my senior year, I narrowed it down to Oklahoma State, NC State, and East Carolina.
Okay.
And they seemed fully bought in on the two-sport thing. And I took a visit out to Oklahoma State. And I mean, super rural town in Stillwater. And the baseball and football coaching staffs at the time were just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool. Like, so I grew up like in the watching like the Cardinals and the Braves duke it out.
Oh yeah.
The Champion Series and stuff like that. And it's like watching Matt Holliday when I was little.
Yeah.
Becoming a fan of Matt Holliday and Matt Carpenter and all these guys. And then it's like something special to when you go somewhere and like one of your favorite players doesn't let you down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Matt was just like super awesome to me. Like we hung out the whole day, like just super great people. And his brother Josh, who's the head coach of Oklahoma State, was like one of the nicest people that I've ever met. And I remember like we got back on the plane and like I could really see myself going here. Obviously it's 20 hours away from
South
Carolina, but I'm like, this is an awesome place. And like I know I'm gonna be taken care of 20 hours from home.
And the Holidays family just synonymous with Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And the whole crew out there.
Yeah.
So what was that decision like? Because so NC State literally 15 minutes, 20 minutes down the road.
But you didn't have a loyalty. You were kind of UNC fan growing up. Were you?
I would say some, but like I was an NC State fan too. I liked. I would say I was a UNC fan because of Scott Jackson, Scott Forbes, who my dad was close with. But growing up through the recruitment process, like Elliot Avent was awesome.
Yeah.
And anytime he'd have me out, like we had a really good time together. And so when this decision was made, like I called up Josh first and I was like, hey, like I'm ready to commit. Like this is where I want to go. And I did it on signing day. So
Yeah.
then I called
So
up,
you didn't know. You really were kind of.
yeah, I was torn between, and if signing day was a Friday, I probably made a decision on Monday. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to announce it till Friday, and it's going to be like a big deal or whatever on the news channel. And so I called Elliot right after, and I was like, hey, coach, like I think I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. And he was like super excited for me. He goes, those are the greatest people like you'll ever be around. So then I was like, okay, this is the spot for me.
That's a hard call.
Hey, I want to take very hard because like I've heard some nightmare stories of people getting chewed out.
Yeah.
I'm like, this could go really bad.
But Avent,
Avent was like,
he's good people.
The Holidays, Josh was great people, and
But I think that speaks to who Coach Avent is.
Oh yeah,
as a coach, as a person, and realistically, how secure he is in what he's doing as a coach, right? It's where he can. So he obviously built a relationship with you, and then he's happy for you. So that, and I guess with transfers and NILs now, you can't be burning any bridges either.
Yeah, I mean, this was I think it was a few years too early for that.
Yeah.
He did say like you always have a home here if you want it.
That's awesome.
That's
so did you have to call Coach Doran as well and tell him?
I believe I did. And he was like,
Because you're disappointed, you're not just disappointed in football. You're
Norman was really cool. It was Drinkwitz, I think, was the offensive quarterback coach there. He's Mizzou's head coach now.
Yeah.
And they were a little disappointed, but they understood. I mean,
it's fair.
They probably deal with it more than anybody, like
the
commitments and stuff like that. So
I want to take a step back that we kind of skipped. We kind of talked about we're having Paulie's lunch. But like your process, like, so you're a freshman in high school. Do you play varsity your freshman year?
yeah. So
kind of take us through that process of like, hey, this is when did you go to prospect days? Did you do any of the perfect game, like PBR stuff where you're going and seeing how hard you can throw and X's lots and all that stuff?
No,
Kind of
yeah. So middle school, I went to Wake Christian. I played baseball there 6th and 7th grade year. And in 8th grade year, I asked them, I was like, hey, like, I think it could be beneficial for both of us if I played varsity, like for the high school team. And they just wouldn't allow it. They would say that would mess up a lot of kids' eligibility or something like that. And so I thought, okay. So I decided not to play baseball for a team my 8th grade year.
Oh, wow.
And first time lifting weights, it just worked out and got dedicated. Yeah. So it was a perfect time. I was probably just starting puberty, like got stronger, got faster, like started hitting a lot more. And that's when I really became like obsessed with the training part of it, the process part. And so we knew about Goffney, and I had a few buddies at Garner who said like, yeah, this is a fun place to play. Like,
so Coach Goffney is the high school coach at Garner High School.
And I wasn't district to go to Garner. I was district to go to Fuquay. His baseball team has always been loaded.
It's been solid, yeah.
But I wanted to go to Garner, so I ended up getting into Garner. And Goffney's a no BS type of guy.
Yep.
He's like, hey, I've heard you're good, but you're still gonna have to show me. And so there was like the summer ball stuff was still a thing. Scholastic Summer League is like, hey, like we're gonna have you play JV, but you're gonna play varsity again right after the game. Oh yeah, that's fine. And I think I played 3 games of JV, and it was like, I didn't get out. And
Did you pitch at all?
no, I didn't pitch at all.
Right. So that didn't really show.
Yeah, and then I was playing later in that varsity game as well, and I was raking, like I was hitting really good. And then he was like, "Hey, you don't have to play JV anymore." I was like, "Okay, cool." And so going into the freshman year, he knew like
Who you were.
who I was going to be, like what kind of player I was going to be.
And then how about from a football standpoint, though? Because obviously you come in and
Yeah, so I come in and there's a kid playing quarterback, and that my freshman year, our varsity team was really, really good. I think I made it to the 4th round, got beat by Middle Creek or something like that. So I was on the JV team, got called up for playoffs, but I mean, didn't sniff the field, but maybe like a snap or two.
Yeah.
Hit a little check down. So I think my freshman year in varsity, I was 1 for 1.
That's funny. Were you there with Naheem Hines?
No, he was a few years before.
He was before. Okay, I couldn't remember the timeline.
Colin Eady and
Okay, yep.
Let's see who else was Davion Carrington was my running back.
Davion was good, yeah.
Yeah.
wow, so some real players.
Yeah, so we were good. So then sophomore year was my first year starting at quarterback for football, but baseball played varsity since freshman, and then sophomore year was varsity.
And then when did you start getting calls about, all right, let's jump. So do you train all the way through? Like, are you taking time off, letting your body?
So football season is all football.
Yeah.
I mean, I still hit like just because it's fun and I enjoy doing it, but I wouldn't throw a baseball because I'm already throwing a football, and
Yeah.
I was obsessed with football at this time too. So like I wanted everything to be dotted up on people's chests, and I felt like throwing a baseball might interfere with that.
Yeah.
Fair.
Well, it's same but different, yeah.
And I mean, as I got older, I could just decipher the two.
Yeah.
Like I could alternate between the two, and it'd be fine. But when I was still young and like learning it, it was different.
And you also played basketball for a little bit as well, right?
Yeah, I played basketball. There was one year I didn't play. I can't remember which year it was. I want to say it was sophomore year, maybe junior year.
But never the obsession with basketball?
Like I love basketball.
Oh, did you?
Oh, I loved it. But I didn't. I was the guy who would pick up the basketball at tryouts, and I could stick.
Yeah. That's kind of who I was too. Except I couldn't shoot. I could just
You got a big body.
I could be in the way.
I understood the game of basketball.
Oh, that's funny.
I
Yeah.
was awful on defense.
Were you awful or didn't try?
No, I was bad.
Okay.
I was good.
Come out. And he would compete.
I was a
Yeah.
zone defender, man to man.
We're all good zone defenders. We're all good zone defenders.
So you're short points.
No, for the other guy. I was getting scored on, but I accounted for a lot of baskets too. Like
It evened out.
I
Yeah.
was the king of the outlet pass. Like if they made a shot, I was rolling out like a quarterback and just chucking it deep. And we probably got-
Oh, grab the board and kick it down. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So
Hey, that guy must be at football. Yeah, yeah.
basketball was super fun because I knew my role. I didn't have to be the star player. It
Oh,
was like,
awesome.
you just sit on the wing, and if I got a dish to pass, I was gonna knock down a
Jacket 3. Yeah.
to some fans or something. Something
Yeah.
I would,
Were you giving like the goggles on the way down?
Maybe like a few. And it was like one basket.
That's fine. So let's pivot real quick.
Sports.
Yeah, let's pivot real quick into that conversation. So again, speaking to the kids now who are 8, 9, 10 into the early teens. So you encourage it. Hey, play as many sports as possible.
Yeah, I mean, not only from an athletic standpoint, I think when your body learns how to adapt to multiple things, you're going to be better at the one thing you want to be good at. So, like playing more sports, I don't know how true it is, but I feel like I can adjust easier in baseball because I might have gotten to a position in high school playing basketball that I now need in baseball, but I've been there before versus like if I've been strictly baseball, been taught this, that, switch to bug, all this crap, instead of just being athletic. I think it can like hinder some guys, and like not to mention like just the memories you can create playing other sports. It's like,
Oh, absolutely.
most of my stories come from football and basketball, like messing around on the bus rides.
Yeah.
Who knows? Throwing
Well,
stuff at those.
And to baseball, like you said, basketball, that's really cool. Because in baseball, you were the man. You were expected to hit a home run, throw a no-hitter. Maybe not to that level, but you were expected to be the man. And in football, probably. So, but in basketball, it is cool. Because I had a similar story where I could just like, hey, man, I want to grab rebounds. I want to try to dunk the ball.
Yeah.
I want to have fun, but I want to be part of this team, right?
Yeah.
Where you're still doing the same thing. Yeah.
Well, you don't need to be the man at it. And it's nice to be that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you were the man in high school for baseball.
For a little bit, yeah.
If you don't have to be that in basketball, but you can set a pick or
Yeah,
knock
just
someone hard.
knock somebody out on a screen. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a blast.
Yeah, or throw an alley-oop to a guy much more athletic than me. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the win.
That's so much fun.
Hey, just
Got one more thing. Or a lot more things, but in regards to this, like, so you start getting recruited. Do you go to all these little camps, like for football too, or did you have enough good guys around you that people were coming to see those other guys, and then they see you and like, dude, this guy can throw the ball. Yeah.
A little bit of both. Camps are much more important, I felt like, for football than they were for baseball for me. Because baseball like has the glaring things like I was throwing 90 miles an hour as a freshman. That's apparent. Like
Yeah.
the measurables for baseball make it much easier sometimes.
Yeah.
Also make it much harder too. But football, like you got to watch guys play a little bit. And yeah, I was lucky like a few times, like having some really good players. To where a guy would be showing up watching somebody else and see me, and I might make some throws that like arm talent wise not a lot of guys can make. From like a far side comeback or something like that. That's what I was good at. I was good at throwing the ball. Like and so it took guys to come watch me. Like I wasn't a camp guy, like for football, I wasn't gonna run a crazy 40. My footwork wasn't gonna be crazy great. But if you came to watch me play, I was going to run a guy over and throw a ball sidearm and make a throw. And like, so you needed to watch me play in football versus like baseball. If I were to went to a camp, it would have been, oh wow, this guy's the real deal. Yeah. So I think it's got its parts.
Do
Like
you remember like your numbers, like 7th, 8th, 9th grade? What were you throwing? Were you legitimately throwing 90 as a
I
freshman?
think my freshman year I topped 89 or something like that.
Okay.
Like summer of my 8th grade year. I didn't ever know how hard I threw until that year when I finally went down to Atlanta for like a perfect game tournament or something like that, and I had it on a scoreboard for the nighttime game. So the juices are flowing a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'm just hucking it. And I didn't know. Like I was just throwing it as hard as I could, hoping for the best, like as I always do. And it turned out I was throwing really hard for that age. And my dad's buddy Scott Jackson, who was the assistant at UNC, I think he's back there now actually. He was saying, "It's like, hey, like that's special." Like, yeah, he's going to get a lot of phone calls, and this was when you could still recruit guys at
early
4 years old if you wanted to. So,
were any of those hard throws actual strikes, or were they just, they're in the zone?
Yeah, they were.
Because that's a big thing too, right? There's a lot of kids that can throw hard, and you see it now, kids crow hopping from shortstop to get the But there's a difference between throwing hard and actually being able to throw hard and throw it in the zone.
Sure.
So that was your gift, really, or one of your gifts, right?
Yeah,
being able to do that. Obviously, you'd work
that part always came easier to me.
Yeah,
that part came easier to me, and I was always just like able to hit, like, because I didn't think about it. And as you get older, you start thinking about more things, like,
and sometimes that messes you up.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you worse, and it actually helps you sometimes. But from like a pitching standpoint, growing up, it was just like, I'm just gonna go up there and try to throw it by dudes, and if they hit it, they hit it.
When did you start developing like your off speed? And you probably didn't feel like you had to at all if you're throwing that hard as a freshman.
Baseball Prospectus says you have one of the best sweepers.
Yeah,
and
I've
all
always been able to spin it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they talked about when you guys were growing up, but they call it supinators or pronators. Like
supinate, pronate, supinate. Yeah. We used to do a dance to it. Yeah.
Like, not a whole lot you can. Not a whole lot of guys can do both, and those guys are usually Cy Young winners or something.
Yeah.
But I'm okay.
Can you do both?
No.
So for the audience out there, pronation is basically if you take your hand and turn your thumb down towards the ground.
Thumb downwards versus.
And then supination is turning your thumb outward away from your body. Yeah.
And so supination comes super naturally to me. I can spin balls, like give me a pitch that moves left is super easy for me.
Yeah.
So the sweeper, the curveball, the cutters.
Okay. And then pronation is more that's a screwball or a changeup that moves away from a lefty from a righty. Yeah.
Now they're starting to figure out different. They call it seam shifted weights, and there's a whole lot of science that goes into the aerodynamics.
Too much science.
So basically, I mean, cutting a changeup or something like that.
Okay, interesting.
Like power change. That's a term we heard this past year, and we had never heard called a power change.
Mm.
And so
a guy was throwing a 95-mile changeup. Like, it's a fastball. What are you talking about? Splinker, yeah, the whole.
Yeah, they just make it up work.
Well,
sweeper. It's just a slider.
Yeah. You know.
And then just got to come up with a new term for it.
Well, they called it a slurve when I pitched because it was like the guy you couldn't throw the 12-6 and your slider was a little loose.
Yeah, so it's just a bigger.
It's just a
firmer curveball or a firmer.
It's a worse curveball, a little better slide. So we call it a slur, but
sliders. I mean,
somebody got paid money to call it a sweep.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how many pitches do you throw now?
So 4-seam, 2-seam, cutter, curveball, sweeper, changeup. So 6.
So what does the catcher throw down? Like take his glove off and throw down a 6th?
No.
Or you spin? I guess you're spinning your finger for
the wiggle, like a sinker is
spinning. Yeah. So your fastballs too.
Yeah.
Y'all don't use the little microphone.
Triple A, I think they start too, and then
But they don't double A down.
Yeah, double A down. We also use different baseballs in the big leaguers. So I don't ask me why they have other guys using different balls than us, but
interesting.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, even back in our day, I think the big league ball was considered harder.
Big league balls harder. Seams were a little smaller. Yeah.
Big league balls now.
Well, the seams are smaller, but they're more raised.
Yeah, you can feel it.
More narrow.
Yeah.
You got a little more control with it, but they also go a little bit further too. So it's got their
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Good. So let's go back to you decided to go to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
So you leave. You're head to actually. Let's go back first. So you played in 2019 in the 18U Team USA. You went to South Korea.
Yep, South Korea.
How was that experience for you?
I didn't love it.
Okay.
But I loved being a part of the team. Now it was my first time out of the country.
No, that's a big. I mean, most people don't leave the country at 17. Yeah.
North Carolina, and you're eating.
There's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
There's no Bojangles in South Korea.
Sandwiches and whatever else, like fried bologna. Like we don't have that.
Do they have BLTs there?
No. BLT today. No, it was never had sushi or pho or whatever. Pho.
Pho, yeah, pho. F-U-H, yeah, pho. It's good, it's delicious.
Yeah, never had that.
I like it.
And I'm having to try all these things. They did have waffles, so I was having to eat a lot of waffles and stuff. They would occasionally have chicken nuggets, so I was just housing chicken nuggets.
You put them in your pockets for later?
Yeah, like Napoleon Dynamite.
Give me your tots.
Yeah.
Where's your tots, Nolan?
it was a little bit of culture shock for me, but like the competition side of things, which is what I care about the most, I loved it, and that was what was really fun.
So you guys were playing other national teams?
I mean, we probably had 8 guys who are in the big leagues right now.
Yeah. Well, I saw some of that. Pico Armstrong was on the team, and a couple other.
Armstrong,
Yeah.
Harrison. I mean, all these guys are like dudes in the big leagues now. So.
Yeah. That I saw the roster earlier. It's like, man, this is that
That's
did
so
that cool, and it's really cool how they can identify.
It's fun. Yeah.
Well, who from a national, like, kind of world perspective, who were some of the teams that really stood out to you as being tougher?
Japan was really good. I mean, that Roki Sasaki guy, I'm pretty sure was on that team.
Yeah.
He was supposed to make his debut in the big leagues this year at Pavilion. Chinese Taipei was really good.
It's weird. They're always good at like 12 years.
They're great at 12 years, but like
You never hear of them after 12. Obviously, maybe at 18 or 17.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah.
So they're really good. Japan's always good.
yeah,
The South Korean team was good.
yeah.
That was my first time seeing a submarine pitcher.
Oh wow, yeah.
I don't know, a guy touched
Like way
me.
under, yes.
I was like, I'll go sit down. So it was another thing, like, and first time seeing splitters, like, change ups in the South, change up.
That straight change, yeah.
Splitter. And it was like, no, that's a knuckleball, bro. That's all I've seen.
I used to throw a forkball.
Yeah.
And I would get way on the side of it. It might look like a knuckleball.
Yeah.
It would dance and drop.
So that was my first time really seeing that stuff, and it was just a different game.
Yeah.
But it was fun to watch, like, teams like Japan warm up, and their infield outfield is just like the most strict, fundamentally sound thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
I thought it was like really cool, and that was a cool part. We all stayed at the same hotel too, like all the different teams. We're sitting there with Google Translate, showing like, hey,
Oh wow, yeah.
where are you from? Like, we're trying to get to know each other. But
Yeah.
like, we don't speak any of the same languages. So you got guys speaking Spanish or guys speaking Mandarin. Like, it's completely different. And so that part was pretty cool. Like, it's like Cooperstown for a bunch of foreign guys getting together.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. That's really cool. So great experience. So then you're back, you're in school. Let's fast forward a little bit. You're a freshman at Oklahoma State. You're kind of on your own with a little bit of a safety net with the football and baseball program, and you're meeting friends there. What was that transition like for you going from high school to?
So it was hard for me from a football standpoint because I didn't graduate early, and most quarterbacks graduate early and go
To
the
go
spring practice
spring,
league.
yeah.
So I didn't know any of the offense. I just knew I could throw the ball better than most guys. And I relied on that a little. Like, I didn't love the process of football as much as I love the process of baseball. So like studying a playbook wasn't as treating to me as going and hitting off the machine for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So that part's tough as a quarterback. Like,
Because you got to know the playbook.
Intellectual at some point.
yeah, exactly. Like, I just didn't love that part of football as much as I loved it in baseball. Like, I loved the game days of football and just going out there and getting hit. Like, that part was fun to me.
Yeah.
But just like the actual cerebral part of it wasn't as fun as baseball is to me. It's just like grinding it out. So
you're going in the fall. Where do you end up on the depth chart from football standpoint?
I'm way down there, I'm sure. I mean, I didn't know any of the offense. So they would have probably put a receiver and a quarterback before me. Someone who knew the offense.
Hey, so did you play your freshman year now, or were you on the team your freshman year?
Yeah, so I was on the team.
So you run out
like a
the tunnel?
full season. Yeah, ran out the tunnel, stuff like that. And that part was fun, like getting to know people, competing with the other quarterbacks at practice. Like that's the part I like is competing.
Who was the starter then?
Spencer Sanders, he's a freak athlete, good thrower. Like, I think he was on his 4th year when I was there.
And obviously he matured, knew the playbook.
Yeah, knew the playbook very well.
And
And
complicated, or we talk? I mean, it's pretty
a
complicated.
lot of plays. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not super complicated. Everything's schemed up. But we're putting in different playbooks each week on top of what you're supposed to already know, which I didn't know because I just got there.
Yeah.
And so that part was hard. I'm trying to catch up to these guys who are learning new stuff as well. So it was just a constant catch up process. So I just eventually just started enjoying the practices. So I ran the scout team and tried to carve those guys up the best I could.
Athlete-wise, obviously you see a bunch of big guys, and a bunch of good athletes
Yeah.
out there. I imagine that's a little bit of a transition because obviously you come from a good football school, but still.
The speed of the game is, I mean, it's just like any other sport is tremendously different. luckily I had enough arm talent to be a little later with my decisions, which a lot of guys didn't have access to. Now, if I would have learned how to be a little quicker with my decisions, I could have probably played for a long time in football. Because the talent was there for that. But once again, you got to love it to play.
Well, and it takes a ton of time. It feels like if you don't come in that spring, you're so
yeah, and it's a full job for football. That's what people don't understand. Like, guys aren't just showing up to the field and playing a game on Saturday. It's like, no, they're there at 6 a.m. getting a lift in, going to class, getting a lunch, going to the field from 1 to 7, including meetings. Like, it's a long day for those guys.
It's a legitimate profession, yeah.
You come in, you do mostly football in the fall.
Yeah, so I was all football, and then
You didn't mess with baseball at all.
I would get in. So if we played like a night game for football, I was at the inter squads Saturday, and Sunday, and so that was it. I was just going and competing for baseball. Like, that's it. I had an okay spring or okay fall practices. I wasn't like raking by no means, but I would turn around and pitch every now and then, like, okay, this guy can play.
So going in, you were going to play both sports. Were you also saying, "Hey, I'm also going to pitch and hit"? Was that something?
Yeah.
And not that you can dictate, but you had the ability to both.
I always knew I could hit. Now, it's harder to showcase that. Like, once again, like, it comes back to like the measurables. Like,
Yeah.
okay, his X velos, whatever, but he's throwing 95. Like, that's glaring.
95 translates. Yeah.
And then I start taking some BP with Matt, and we're working together, and Matt's like, he can really hit. And then, so I believe first game against Wichita State, like, I was sitting on the bench. And I felt like the spring inter squads leading up, like, I was like, I mean, I earned this. Like,
Yeah.
I started raking. And so I was pretty upset, but once again, like,
You're a freshman.
yeah.
Yeah.
And where were you guys? Were you guys ranked at the time?
Yeah, I'm sure we were probably top 25
Yeah.
somewhere, top 20.
I mean, Oklahoma State's typically
Yeah,
top 25 somewhere. Yeah.
And then second game, so it's me and my buddy John Bay. He was sitting on the bench with me. I believe he redshirted our freshman year. And so first game, I'm just standing next to him. We're just chatting it up. Like, man, this is cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, and then second game, I wake up. We go to the field, and we didn't know our lineup till we got to the field. And John comes up to me and goes, "You're going to like where you're hitting today." I'm like, "Oh, I'm playing today?" He's like, "You're going to like it." And I'm in the 3-hole. Yeah. I'm like, this. So like that was from then on out. Like, I was in the lineup every day for the most part. If I was healthy, I was in the lineup.
So what was game one? Was just like, let's just.
Did you think it was over 2 with 3 walks or something like that? Like, respectable. Like,
Yeah.
boys. Like, wasn't stressed out by anything. Wasn't overmatched. And then, like, once I got my feet under me, I started rolling a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting hurt.
That's what I was gonna say.
So I developed a stress fracture in my back, and my lumbar spine, which is lower back. And that just like made swinging excruciating, pitching excruciating. So I had to take some time off for that.
Was that a baseball or was that a football injury or where does that?
Just a rotational injury from like
Suspended, yeah.
yeah.
So much torque created.
Well, that's what I told us. I saw Nolan play in high school several times, but one time I remember seeing him hit a home run, and I told him it looked like he's trying to screw himself into the ground. Just so much rotation, but just really impressive. But I could see where it's kind of a golfer injury too. Yeah.
Pretty much from that, like learning how I could move fast, but I couldn't slow down, and breaks are just important in baseball.
Yeah.
So get hurt from that, and that interfered with the football, so I wouldn't be able to go to football practice either. So I sat down with a quarterback coach who played in the NFL for a while. And I said, "Hey, man, let's just be honest with me. Like, don't fluff my nuts. I've never been here for that. Like, do you see me playing this year or next year? Like, he's like, you would have to be here every day and fully learn the system." He said, "The talent's there. We all know that." He said, "But you'd have to fully learn the system." And I'm like, "I don't, like, do you think I have time for that?" And he's like, "If you're as good as they say you are in baseball, probably not." And so I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "I think we just need to stick to baseball." And he goes, "It's probably a good idea for you." And he said, "You can always come back if you want to." And so we shook hands, and that was that. Like, that was the end of the football career.
It's a great conversation. Sure. It's a very mature.
Yeah, and luck, like that, you might not get that from a guy who didn't play professional sports.
Yeah,
like professional sports are super to the point. Like,
no BS, no fluff.
No BS. Yeah,
and there's not a lot of time for that.
Yeah, it's just like, let me know, let me handle it, move on.
You've got to respect that. That's an awesome conversation. Yeah, that's really cool.
I appreciate. I mean, push for tag for that. But then on it was baseball. So I was just grinding baseball.
So money wise, did it come from, some come from football, some come from baseball, or how?
Over scholarship, yeah.
I never paid for school, so I'm not sure who was paying for it when I first got there, but I guess it had to transition over to baseball, at least for that second year. So I was lucky enough to not pay for school, at least.
Your parents appreciated that.
Yeah, especially for out of state.
Yeah.
And as expensive as Oklahoma State was.
I paid for a couple out of state tuitions. Yeah, it's not fantastic. Yeah. So full time baseball.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Does it take a load off from the baseball? Or
in the summer?
Oh yeah, did you play in the Cape?
The Cape Cod League that freshman year, actually.
Where were you at?
Chatham.
Okay, that's one of the nicer places. I was in Harwich and Touted. It was where I was at. Okay, Chatham was the best, I think.
Yes, I played the last week of the Cape Cod League.
Oh, so just
Okay.
last week you weren't healthy the whole time?
No, but I called my trainer up. It was right in the middle of my rehab, actually. I'm like, hey, like, instead of doing all this BS, I'm like, can I just go play for a week? He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, good enough to play. And he's like, yeah, go play and then finish up your 2 months of rest afterwards. And like, I was fiending for some competition. So I was like, I got to go play. So Josh's dad was actually the coach, Tom Holiday, in Chatham. So I called him. I'm like, hey, can I come play? He goes, yeah, I got you a flight booked for tomorrow. I'm like,
It's like you suspected it.
Yeah. And so
Did he have a flight like booked every day and just finally?
For Nolan
McLean. And so I get out there. He's like, don't worry, we're going to ease you into it. I'm like, okay, cool. And so that first game, I play like the 8th and the 9th. Get one at bat or something like that. I'm like, cool, we're easing into it. Second game, first inning, kid makes a few errors. I'm in there.
Third base?
Yeah, I believe it's third base. It was either third or first when I got in there. And I didn't miss another inning since. Like, it's just like, all right, you're in. So much for eating into it. I just it was like 2 innings, 8 innings, 9.
We're gonna have you back lead off and probably pitch a little bit and bounce you back.
Week in the Cape. It was like hit or miss, honestly, because I hadn't seen a pitch. I hadn't even taken BP until I got down there.
Oh wow!
Wow. So I got off to a decent start. I believe I got like 7 hits or something like that in a week, which all of them against Orleans. Yeah.
All right.
But for some reason, I always saw their pitching good. Everybody else was just punching me out. All that.
I think you're one batch too.
Yeah. But the Cape was fun. I do wish they would invest a little more money into it, like from like a player standpoint.
Yeah.
The competition side of things is as good as you can get.
It's the best there is for college summer ball. Yeah, but I didn't play it, but I heard a lot of stories through Brian and teammates and others. It did feel very like small town.
It is
just kind of.
At first, kind of cool, but at the same time, like it's our off season to where we need to be growing and getting stronger and staying healthy. And
like how about a gym in one of these cities?
Well, you weren't on that fit.
No, so after I was eligible, so I was just fully ready for the draft.
Oh.
And so the Orioles ended up drafting me first pick of the second day. So it's like third round, I want to say 81st pick or something like that. And so I go up to Baltimore to sign the papers, do my physicals, all that.
Yeah.
It ended up not working out. I didn't like my physicals or something like that. So and I was fully content on signing. I was ready to sign.
So they do MRI, they do the whole thing on the elbow, shoulder, knees, or whatever. Or how does that? Do you feel like a science project at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's an all-day thing. Like, you got eye doctor, you got x-rays on everything, including your hips, your ankles, your knees, your shoulders. You got MRIs on anything you've heard. So my lumbar, plus shoulder, elbow, stuff for pitchers. So it's an all-day thing. Like,
You ran out as a two-way guy?
Yep. So you get up at 7, you're doing blood work from the start, and you're finishing your MRI at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And you're eating like a Panera sandwich in between. So you're just like going through it.
You've literally done nothing all day, but you're spent. Yeah.
Absolutely hates the doctor's office. Like,
Man,
I was miserable. Like,
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, can I play or can I not play? Let's just let that decide.
Yeah.
I know home runs, guys.
Like,
yeah.
they sat me down. My agent called me, or texted me, like, hey, call me ASAP, physical issue. And I'm like, great, my back looks like shit or something.
Yeah.
And they tell me, they're like, hey, like, your elbow MRI, like you got a partial tear to your UCL, high grade. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I just came off the regional pumping fuel. Like I feel good. Like I'm at peak form right now, athleticism wise. And they're just like, yeah, like we'll be in touch next couple of days. So I just never hear anything back from them.
Oh wow.
And so like I call Josh, and like this goes back to like the Josh Holiday, like
Yeah.
great family, part of it, great guy. I call him up and like, hey, like this might not work out. Like I know we talked about like I'm gone this year. Like I'm like, this might not work out. Like, do you still have like a spot for me if I wanted to come back? Like, or is the money guaranteed? Because I don't want to take somebody's money.
That's right.
And I'm like, I can enter the portal and like be no hard feelings. Like, he's like, no, like, you always got a spot here. So like, I mean, I'm like in tears at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, so you kind of started that dream?
yeah, exactly. And now I got to explain to everybody what happened, and it was just miserable. And so I called
Gosh.
him, and he's just being awesome to me. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes things a lot better.
Yeah.
Instead of having to enter the portal, find a new home as well.
Yep.
But yeah, so he was awesome to me. And so then the match tracked me the year after, and everything goes smoothly.
Pretty. Obviously, we saw a lot of success. Obviously, two-way player, finals with John Oldroyd. You know, all Big Ten as a position player and a pitcher. So a lot of success. What do you think the transition was? Kind of jumping back, was there a big transition from like high school to your freshman year to your sophomore year? Were your stats? That's a baseball guy. You probably remember them. Were they pretty good?
I think my freshman year I might hit around at 280 or something like that. Like nothing crazy. I started off hitting like 360 or something. And then as I started getting hurt, like I just was
trying to play through it a little bit.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just soreness, like this off, just what I
Yeah.
thought.
But you had a broke back, literally, right? Literally a broke back.
But it ended up not me being soft. I was just actually hurt, and so I ended up struggling a little bit.
Then sophomore year, what you think?
Sophomore year, I hit pretty similar. I would say like 290, and I mean I was struggling that whole year.
But you still had some juice. Though, right?
Yeah, lots of juice. Like I run into a ball 500 feet every now and then. But I struggled swinging this like all year long, and I couldn't figure it out. And we get to the regional, and I ended up just absolutely going off in the regional.
Was there anything physical? You know, I was a hitter. Was there any adjustment that you felt like you made? Was it completely a mental adjustment, a physical adjustment, a combination of
Going
both?
to regional?
Yeah.
I think it was all mental. My dad, I don't know, is there cussing on this?
Yeah. You're good.
I remember calling my dad work for it and like, Dad, this week I'm just saying fuck it and I'm going to go play baseball. Because I've been talking to him like, dude, I keep figuring myself out. Like, I've never struggled hitting 90 miles an hour since I got in the 8th grade. Like, that's just been...
That's a BP.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
And I was just like, what is going on? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, I'm just like, fuck it.
and you have all this information now that we didn't have. All the different camera angles and
that
blocks
probably
and all this
that
stuff.
like ruined me. Like the obsession of like achieving greatness is what I was after. Like probably hindered me a little bit. Like
Hey, good is good. My good is real good.
yeah, exactly. Instead of just trusting myself, and so like I told him like, hey, like I'm going into this regional, and I'm just fully trusting myself. Whatever happens, happens. But I need to compete and be like away from myself for my team.
Yeah.
And then I ended up raking. Like,
Were you feeling pressure for your draft or
no? That part never.
Probably put pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I'm so much better than this. Like, and I don't know why. I'm letting my teammates down more than anything, and I'm like hindering our ability to go win College World Series. And so I ended up raking, and I think I was batting like 260 going into the regional, and ended up hitting like raising 35 pounds.
Oh wow.
Wow.
With
And
five more.
5 games. And
Yeah.
five home runs.
Yeah, I hit 5 pumps in the regional or something like that. So I was.
Pumps. I like that. I'm gonna steal that. That's not a term that we ever use. 5 pumps.
That's a new one.
Yeah, so I ended up turning that around, but I still like I couldn't figure out the swing in this thing.
So over that summer before your junior year, you ended up just kind of working out. Obviously, you rehab that elbow.
No, there was nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Like I didn't have any pain with it, so I didn't know what to rehab. So I was like, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and if it explodes, it explodes. Like that's God's plan for me or whatever.
Yep.
And so that was kind of my mindset, and like obviously that's like tough on a lot of people. Like hearing, hey, by the way, your UCL's screwed up. That's like,
Well,
what?
for sure. That's right. That's part of your tool belt.
Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah.
Like so mentally, I was like, is it screwed up? And then like I started letting it eat. Like, no, we're
That's just how it is, baby. Yeah.
we're And so like I'm just like rolling it. Like
Yeah.
everybody's got tears in their UCL.
Oh yeah, if
you
you
throw it off.
shoulder, yeah.
I'm convinced that every pitcher, baseball player, quarterback, you've got a certain number of bullets in your shoulder, your elbow, and like I said, God builds everybody differently. Maybe your time is to throw like Nolan Ryan
Forever.
had the best shoulder.
I think he was 45, and then he quit when he scored.
Then, but also had a great work ethic.
Yeah.
He was like ultimate like.
Yeah, and I think like we're not like the human body's not made like to do that, to throw overhand 100 miles an hour. Like that's just not supposed to happen.
No,
We just evolved into like better athletes.
the super species of
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if everybody's got some torn UCL in there. It's just like a matter of when it starts hurting.
yeah.
And so now, like guys, like if you don't throw hard, the game's gonna weed you out eventually. And so the problem is like as we're chasing velo and higher torques on our elbow, we're also increasing our risk for injury.
Yeah,
But that's like just a payoff we have to.
Well, that was the big study that just came out through, and a lot of it was like thanks, Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
Like we throw harder and spin the ball more.
Yeah.
We have more injury. Like kind of duh,
So what
right?
it is to do like become worse to save. Like we can't do that. Like you
No.
have to take it and do the best you can at protecting yourself while throwing as hard as possible.
So how much of that do you think is? So I was a big proponent for running day after a pitch, getting a good leg workout in, core.
Right.
Had a really good routine as a starting pitcher. Never had any injuries.
Yeah.
And then, but we've been watching a lot now and talking to people. So
A lot of different thought processes.
Now,
Not as much. Yeah, not as much running.
Yeah,
It's-
so mine's more like short burst, I would say. Like,
Okay.
I'm terrible at running long distance. So that's probably why I don't do it. Like, I could never be like a long
like cross country. Yeah.
Like, it's terrible. But if you put me like on a pacer test or something where it's like sprints back and forth,
Yeah.
I'm good. And they've done a lot of studies from like the fast twitch side of things, of like sprints just being better for your muscle fibers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. Because like they've just come to the conclusion like when you're throwing a ball, you're sprinting down the mound, upper and lower body. So that's what they're trying to do. But I think there's so much value in like a cardiovascular standpoint. Like
Yeah.
especially now with the pitch clock,
Oh, you gotta be moving.
be in shape.
How do you feel about the pitch clock? Because you play,
It's great. I pitch fast.
you like it. Okay.
Yes. From a hitting standpoint, I think I was the first person in college to get rung up on strikes from the pitch clock.
Because you're out of the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, or something like that. The guy wasn't on the mound yet, so I was like waiting for him to get on the mound, step in, and I just got rung up on strikes. I'm like, what just happened?
Wait, I don't get to swing. I don't see a pitch, and I'm out. What?
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like one of my first at-bats of the year, too, my junior year of college.
Yeah. So Brian. So
it's great for like the viewership and stuff like that.
yeah.
Holly wants people to walk around the mound
want
and give a little wave,
Okay, well,
throw over to first 30 times.
Eric Gagne, Gary Bonds experience, you're never going to get that again.
No. Well, so that's
sucks. Like the Juan Soto versus Garrett Cole. It's like
Yeah.
you're not going to really get that because
you're trying to.
it's so fast. Like, you're not getting everybody on their feet. You don't have time to stand up.
No,
The man
dude.
can stand up before the next pitch gets thrown. Like I think it's 13 seconds pretty much is what we
Yeah.
without runners.
It's so fast.
18 seconds.
Oh, that's quicker than I thought. I thought it was like 15 to 20. Has it gotten shorter?
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
So it's like 30 to get to from the on deck circle to the batter spot.
Yeah, you got
for
30.
your initial, and then it's like 15 in
20
between.
minute if you get a mound visit. So like they're like
Keeping it moving.
I believe running is going to start becoming more important to pitchers or some kind of cardiovascular because especially if you start to get nervous.
Yeah.
I'm not a big nerves guy. Like whatever, right? Like whatever happens, happens once I deliver the pitch.
But once you get in the big leagues, it comes like that first game, you're going to feel your heart rate.
Yeah. So your heart rate's going to be up on top of a pitch clock. Your adrenaline's going to be absolutely pumping.
You got 40,000 people screaming at you. Hopefully, yeah.
From a cardiovascular standpoint, it's going to be increased. Your heart rate's going to be elevated.
Oh yeah.
When I believe there's some value to
Hey, we need to ask.
training that as well.
Hey, so the golden, you heard the golden, like do the golden.
The golden at bat. Did you hear about this rule?
Oh,
The proposal.
That I said. Yeah. I was that one too. Like Otani back to back in the ninth inning or something.
Punch out Otani in the
Yeah.
World Series. Wait, what?
Wait, he's up again.
He's already seen me twice. Now he's got to see me a third time back to back. And so, like, funny. So in spring training last year, I got to bounce around the field a little bit.
Yeah.
Too. And so I face a guy. I think I either pop up or strike out, and then I lead off the next inning again. So I just come off like seeing all of his pitches, and I hit an absolute mammo on him, and I'm like, that's like so unfair to that guy.
Oh, yeah.
He just got me out. Now he has to face me again after it's like basically a 6-pitch at bat.
Yeah.
Strike out at bat. Like,
Right.
you know, like that golden rule,
It's crazy. We saw that one time in
feeling first. They tried to add to like.
Well, I thought you're still in all the rules from banana ball. I mean, all that stuff. Comes
Yeah,
from-
they think the fans are going to catch it, and it's
Yeah, that's exactly.
it's so I'm more of the baseball purist, the traditionalist, and it's and a lot of it goes back to
Now, for minor league baseball, the pitch clock's great.
well, it keeps things moving. Yeah.
Especially like the lower games, like low A, where you got a few guys who can't throw strikes.
Yeah. I get it. I understand it,
But
but
from like a nostalgia of like
I think about like
the
the
biggest at
yeah.
bat in the World Series. Like,
yeah.
I mean, those games are made to be dragged out because of the like just the emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you think back to like the old, like as you were very young, like the Red Sox and Yankees were playing like 4-hour games.
Yeah,
I loved every second of it.
no doubt.
I wanted more of it.
It's a 7-minute at bat.
Yeah.
Just,
He's out there flipping his bat gloves and spitting. And,
box.
no, get out of here.
Box.
yeah, to an extent.
No more Garcia Parra kicking his shoes, bat gloves 1,000 times. It's like they're getting a box in
Now
here.
it's like you get one timeout as a hitter, and if you step out of the box during your timeout or something, like the clock starts. And so we're just rolling. Like the games are, some of them are, if you guys don't back and forth and hitters aren't hitting, you can play in 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, that was so.
And that's what fans like non-baseball.
That's what I
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to target. Is people who don't enjoy baseball that much.
Yeah.
Like us baseball fans, we can watch it because we just enjoy.
Well, just turn a game on and I watch it. Yeah.
But like for somebody like, say like my girlfriend who doesn't, she only watches baseball when I play.
Which makes sense.
But now she can enjoy the game because it's fast paced. Guys are
Yeah.
hitting home runs. Guys are striking people out. the
I
pitchers
think
are getting
they're-
pulled here.
I think they're trying to microwave fan. I'm like, I'm just not a fan. I don't.
It's
But
different.
you're going to watch regardless.
I'm watching regardless. You're shaving like 20 minutes off of a game. Like what's 20 minutes in the grand scheme of the whole thing, right? So
Yeah, I think it's postseason baseball is gonna hurt. I think just from like a
again, I think back to like, so I played with the guy Rajay Davis, hit the home run off a Aroldis Chapman
Yeah.
when the cup. That was an epic like 12 pitch. He's in the bat, and I saw like he was my roommate for a little bit too, and I saw him like take his step back, and I saw him just like. And he's kind of a crazy, like really good dude, but just like a lot of stuff goes through his head. I can see him just like resetting. And I was a hitter in high school and hit a little bit in pro ball because I was, pitcher still hit back then.
yeah.
And you need that reset sometimes. And as a pitcher, you need to step back.
What I've seen is like it's the momentum changes happen a lot faster now.
Yeah.
So like if a guy starts dealing, he really starts dealing because like the guy's got
Oh, he's on it. Yeah.
getting shelled a little bit. It's like
I've been there too.
You're gonna throw another pitch? Like, did I kick a new ball here?
This is the seams. The pitch comp. I can't hear.
You can use that. We don't have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you see a lot of guys like, man, I can't hear. And it works great.
Yeah. I wonder about that too, because you see it in the big leagues all the time where it's like,
The battery, yeah.
Like, man, I don't like this ball, even though the ball's fine. I just
Need a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to cover first, and I'm gassed.
that was the 60. Well, so we talk about the like the endurance and running. So I remember, Alex Rodriguez signed the first really big contract with the Rangers, 10-year, $250 million, and he said he worked harder than he ever did in the offseason. And what he started doing, he started running a lot of distance. So he was running like 6-7 miles a day. He thought he was training really well, but he started developing slow twitch fiber muscles.
Yeah.
And so his first step was so I think for position players, sprints, stuff like that. But for pitchers, I think you need to build that base, build that endurance, build
And
something from the endurance and distance sort of thing, especially now that you've explained.
both, we're starting to implement more biking than we are running.
Interesting, yeah.
So, like, we'll get on the assault bike or something and hit some sprints on the bike.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, way worse. Like, I hate it.
You get somebody who can work you out on a bike, that's
No, it's awful.
a workout.
Yeah. But I think from like an impact standpoint, like we're not jarring our knees.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Do you ever do any swimming?
Sometimes, but we don't have like, I mean, maybe at a hotel or something like that
Yeah.
if you really want to get in there. But
So the season I was in the best shape in my life, I swam up at Pullen Park. I was doing it 3 times a week, swimming a mile, just back.
yeah, swimming's awesome.
It was awful, but
Good on your
I was slow. Yeah.
I imagine that's the bike idea.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do is protect the joints.
Yeah.
And they have a problem with training your aerobic like capacity. I think it's more of just like the impact
Yep.
or like the risk versus reward thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you get in the minor leagues, you're hitting, pitching. Do you find one more challenging than the other as you get in?
So when I first started, like my first full season, which was this past year, I was raking. Like I was hitting fine. Like probably a home run every couple games, like which is what they're expecting out of me.
Yeah.
Like hit for power, like they're fine with the strikeouts. If I'm just doing what I'm supposed to
Yeah.
with that, like, and then I got tired, honestly, and I didn't expect that because like I trained myself like hard.
Yeah.
And but like I felt it more from a pitching thing. Like my velo was fine. I didn't drop velo a lot. I was just like exhausted, like grieving over every pitch. Wasn't executing pitches, and that's when like the tiredness happens for me. Is like I don't execute as good. Like it's not like my velo changes or my stuff changes.
You leave a ball up in the zone. Yeah.
You get punished, and then you got to go back up third because you just gave up a borderline triple.
Yeah.
So now you're getting
Back up bases, you're doing the good fundamentals.
Within 14 seconds, you're like, God, this is awful. Like, coach, can you come talk to me for a second?
Take a knee. You see me take a knee. He brings me your football back. Just
yeah, like new ball, please.
Manly.
That's so it's but yeah, then like right at the All-Star break, I called up our scouting director. I'm like, hey, like I'm exhausted. Like I knew this was going to be hard from a hitting standpoint. But my hitting has gone downhill because I'm so tired. My pitching started to take a toll because I'm so tired. And I think we both knew like mutually that my pitching was going to develop much, much faster than my hitting was.
yeah.
And I want to get in the big leagues, like
Yeah.
whether it's to pitch, to hit, to do whatever. Like I just want to compete against the best players in the world.
That's where they're
And
at.
so that's what we mutually decided, like, hey, like shit pitching. So like 2 weeks after that, my legs started to come back to me, and I felt so good for the rest of the season.
Oh, nice.
Do you feel like it was legs, or was the bat feeling heavy, or what?
Probably everything. Yeah. I mean, I was grinding a little bit, like not swinging it as good as I was.
They take the mental toll, right?
Yeah,
You play every
exactly.
game and-
Yeah, and from that standpoint of like, I'm having to hit, and then I'm going to throw a bullpen, and then I'm playing a game on top of a lift. Like I was going through it a little bit, and then I was able to set the bat down. I was able to get after a lift, take a few days before my next start. I felt good.
Yeah, talk about your routine. Like that was one of the things that we lifted all the way through, but at times throughout the season it wasn't as emphasized. That's not the case now. What was your typical day when you were doing both?
Yeah, I would just try to squeeze in a lift, honestly.
So are you getting that
Twice
face
a
to face
week,
down 7 o'clock game? You get to the field at what time?
I would probably have like a noon bus or something like that.
Yeah. So is that for hitting, or is that for early lift, or for lifting on your own?
So when I was a position guy, we would have like a gym bus at 10 a.m. or something.
Okay.
And we'd go to like a local YMCA. That's like a group of 8, get a lift in, come back, shower, get some food, head to the field. And that wasn't as good because I wanted to get after my lifts, and I didn't want to just baby. Like a lot of guys,
You have to, and you
They
feel
go
that,
through the
feel that
motions.
conflict.
and I'm like, well, that's my biggest thing is being stronger than everybody else and having more power. Than stuff like that. Yeah, and like I got to get after it, or I'm not getting out of it. And I was getting after it, and then I was just drained for the game. And this isn't working.
So you get there at 12, or
Then I
you
gotta
get-
take-
you get early beat.
Yeah, and if you're not feeling it, you're trying to take more swings after your swing, groove your swing in, so you're doing more and more volume and getting more and more tired. And that just takes a constant toll. And then once I set the bat down, it was a true routine, and that got me right after the training.
Because you're ready to
Right.
lift the way you want to
I
lift.
could get after a lift the day after I started, absolutely demolish a lift.
A starting pitcher routine is probably the best in professional sports.
Yeah,
Like
it's
legitimately. Yeah. Because you're scheduled out, you know when you're pitching. You've got 4 days, sometimes 5 with an off day in between.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in you're doing the minor leagues, you're doing 6 day.
Yeah, so every 5 days.
Yeah.
So we got 6 starters. So some weeks we got a Tuesday, Sunday, and then after that it's every 5 days.
Yeah, so you know your routine. So what does it look like? So start a game, you throw a well, next day you're just crushing the gym.
That's a good question. What's your routine post start? Like the next, what's your lead up? Like, hey, you're done. You got to lift the next day. Hey, you finished your starting day. What's your
So next day, pitchers lift during the games.
Oh, really?
If we're on a road,
Would you
at
finish-
home we would lift.
okay with that?
Lifting during the game, that seems just
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Like I would go lift at like 10 in the morning. That's
if
nuts.
we're at home, we lift during BP
Really?
or after BP because starting pitcher the day before has to
Who shags?
work the bucket.
Okay, yeah.
But if you have a lift to get in, like you would get it in during BP. So if I started, I would be on the bucket and then I'd lift.
Okay.
Or like you'd pay somebody to do the bucket
Yeah.
for you. Like, hey, dude, I'll get you.
I was too broke. I never did that.
Yeah, I'll buy you a Blue Moon and
Get you a PBR, but
deal. And, so I'd get a lift in, and this would probably be like 2 hours before the game if we're at home.
yeah.
And not to get too, I like the weeds, the details. We say, are you doing legs? You doing full body stuff?
So the day after, it's in season, it's all full body.
Yeah.
So it would be like a super heavy split squat, safety bar split squat or something like that. And then we'd have some kind of hamstring usually. And then we would do like an upper body, like a push and a pull. So a bench press with a pull up.
So you are doing
We're getting after
full bench,
Yeah.
all the way down straight bar?
it. Yeah, straight bar, getting after it. I mean, it's a full lift. Like there's not too many bells and whistles. We're not doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's a full lift. And then after that, I would grab a bite to eat probably and
And then the
shower
next
up
day?
and watch the game. And then the next day,
And then, so are you charting during that game?
no, we don't chart.
Somebody else does that for you?
Or probably machines now, right? Or
Yeah.
probably machines. So
So-
what that's for you?
Our coaches, or like one of our coaches usually charts. Like we'll have,
Okay.
so in high A, we would chart the day before we pitched.
Okay.
So we kind of got to know the lineup.
It's like a full game chart. Like
Yeah.
you're basically keeping the book.
Keeping the book.
Yeah.
For the pitching coach. And in Double A, it was just like, he didn't do any of that.
Really? We would spend, so in the 90s into the early 2000s, I was in the stands more than I was in the dugout. I was in the stands like 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
So I was up there crushing nachos and burgers and, yeah.
Well, probably didn't booze, but you were eating.
Yeah. Well, we had one year we had like the booster club. This family would bring us like a pack of food every night, but they had like no. They had like a cherry tree, and so they bring us like fresh cherries. They would always bring us like this big ham sandwich. Like it was like a full.
That's nice.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
You a cherry fan? I'm not a huge cherry guy.
I'm not
Yeah. No,
cherry flavored things, but not cherry.
Cherries.
these are actual. I mean, they got the pits and everything, but they were. So you could always tell where we were sitting in the stands because there was a pile. It was like 3 of us up there. We're just crushing.
Yeah.
And then the pitching coach would look up at us and be like, what's going on? Like we'd kind of hide the food a little bit.
Yeah.
And towards the end, you're just like, get a burger.
Yeah.
Who cares? Yeah.
So your second day after you're running, is that what you're doing the sprint work?
Yeah. So I'll do a sprint work or I'll have like a bike session, one or the other.
And then throwing the third day?
Yeah. So I'll throw. It depends on what I got going on. So sometimes if you throw on a Saturday. So if I pitch on a Saturday, I usually take the day after I throw off from throwing.
Yeah.
But if I take a Sunday off with Monday off as well, then I would have to go to the field on a Monday. So sometimes I just do a really light catch the day after.
Yeah.
But usually the day after is an off day from throwing, just full lift, full just like get after my body, let it recuperate. And then the day after will be some kind of sprint, whether it's on a bike, a light day throwing.
Yeah.
And then we have another day, and that would be our third day. So it's probably a bullpen.
That's what I was going to say. What do you
side day, and that would be my second lift.
Okay.
And sometimes we would split that up. We would go like an upper, and then the next day we'd do a lower. But I always liked getting after it and having a full day to recover.
Yeah.
And then I'd have 2 days before start, and then thing to the next start day. Most of it, we would run every day or bike we'd have something to do every day. Like agility, like something.
Is that a routine that was put on you, or is that a routine that you kind of came up with that worked for you?
It's pretty standard for every guy. Because the strength aspect is so important now, and like it boosts recovery when you stimulate the body after hard exercise. So there would be some days that we start and we're just so drained that day after. They would give us like what we call a spa day. You're just chilling, and then we would start to lift the next day.
That minor league sounds a whole lot better now.
Well,
the
stadiums are a lot better. The facilities are a whole lot nicer.
Yeah.
They're starting to have some. I mean, with the Players Association for minor leagues, it's starting to really help. Like have standards. For
what a concept! What a concept!
Thought of it before. It was more like, hey, you're paying your dues.
That was always the
shit sandwiches and
I thought about that.
Spreads. Are the spreads better? Okay. What are you having?
He says they're okay. They're having like filet, PB&J.
Some Italian food, I'd say, like pastas.
Like pregame?
Yeah, like
really?
Yeah,
You're so jealous.
I am. We had like
it was always like some kind of rice bowl or something like
we had like a tray of like deli meats with like fly paper over top of it, and like that was kind of
days of that. Like, we still get that every
the flies added more protein if you're lucky enough to have one of those drop into your.
And it depends on the city too. So wherever we're playing, some places have like nicer like catering restaurants, and we'll get that. We have a thing called a show spread. So if everybody in the organization wins, including I think everybody in the organization gets a win on the same day. Like we'll have a show spread. So it's like steak and lobster or something like we had Fleming's this past year. And so they'll go all out for that if everybody I think we call it organizational suite.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So give you a little incentive to win.
It's motivation to win.
Yeah.
The only time
look after us, like
take
care of us.
the only time we got stuff like that with the Red Sox were a little better, but with the Brewers, especially in the lower, I was in Beloit in the Midwest League, so we were about an hour from Milwaukee. So anytime a guy would rehab, they would ship him down there.
Yeah, and then they'd look out for you.
Those guys would.
They would take care of it.
They would buy dinner, 3 or 4 nights. Yeah.
Alvarez came down for rehab, and he got us. So Binghamton doesn't have a Chick-fil-A. The closest Chick-fil-A is like an hour and a half away. So we didn't ever have Chick-fil-A. But he DoorDash Chick-fil-A
for
an hour and a half.
30 dudes.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's super cool.
Took care of us there. A few guys would get us steak dinners and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so Binghamton's not that far from New York City, so you're getting probably a lot of rehab guys.
Yeah. Well, actually, usually they go to Brooklyn.
Oh, it's even closer. Yeah, that's fair.
Binghamton's probably 3 hours, I'd say.
Okay.
But like, if they have their car, they just take the trip down with their family.
Yeah.
And
well, it's always interesting too, because I remember the guys, and we had them from Milwaukee to Beloit. They did not like facing low A pitching.
Yeah.
Because there's no rhyme or reason to this. Like guys are just they're just throwing as hard as they can. Yeah. Not really a ton of control. And then as you get to like with Pawtucket, the Red Sox was about like 50 minutes away.
Yeah.
So those guys were like, it's a pretty natural transition. But yeah, I remember those guys. I was like, oh, I did get to pitch. Mike Matheny. You know who Mike Matheny is?
I'm very familiar.
Manager for the Cardinals for a long time. Was a Gold Glove catcher with the Brewers. Okay. So I got to pitch to him one time on a rehab. And I was 19. I thought everything I was like, man, I'm a Cy Young pitcher. Like this guy made me look.
It's crazy how good those guys are.
Those catchers and a catcher, but he was.
The pace of play is insane too.
Yeah,
it's just like back to you or balls in the dirt or flipping it.
And he's not back there framing, holding stuff.
No,
because he's like,
he knows.
He knows where it is. Yeah.
It's like,
but to see a Gold Glove catcher,
close. But if it's not, then back to you.
Yeah. Do you have guys that you prefer to throw to?
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially from like a pitch calling standpoint, like
you find a rhythm.
Yeah, some guys are like they do their homework and they know what works for you and know how to get on the same page as you. Some guys are just like back there calling a game.
Yeah. Like when's my next at bat? What do we?
Yeah, exactly. And that's tougher, and but it's everybody's own career too, so you got to get it. But
yeah.
It's much easier when it's just like you're on the same page, you're never shaking off, or you're never questioning it.
Yeah, usually those guys are hitting like 220.
Yeah,
but they catch a great game, sort of thing.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to potentially Double A this year. AAA? You have a feel for where you might end up this year, or what's your hope for going? Well, the big leagues. That's what we're hoping for, right?
I end up in the bigs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to start in AAA. Like that would be awesome. I mean, I finished up really strong in AA last year, and hopefully, good spring training puts me in the right spot. But
Yeah.
What's your schedule going forward? What's kind of your workout? Are you working out 6 days a week? And what's your schedule here the next couple months before spring training?
yeah, so I'll have like right now I'm doing 4 lifts a week, sprinting on my lower days, and then 2 upper body days, 2 lower days, just the lifts. And so like I base it around my bullpen. We've started throwing already, so I base it around that. Like today, I'm taking off from lifting because I plan on throwing a bullpen tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll do my arm care session tomorrow will be an upper body lift and just like get after it. And then Wednesdays or whatever day in between my other 2 lifts will be like a mobility day, like getting moving around, maybe some kind of conditioning, like get on the bike, hit an interval session.
Okay.
And just get feeling better. Like spring's kind of my low hanging fruit, so I'm not like too worried about it as much as I am like just moving better, being a better athlete, and just feeling good all the time.
And so you feel like you need to be kind of amped up as you go in, right? Because you don't know if you'll be in big league camp. You kind of need to be where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. And they have it all written out for us. Like we have a plan from when we go home to end the season till camp. So we know exactly what days we're supposed to be throwing, and they let us vary it. Like obviously family stuff comes up, or like guys take trips, or
Well, it's tougher too. Like you're very fortunate to be in North Carolina where you can throw.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Some guys are in
Maine or Wisconsin or Minnesota, and
it's freezing.
they can't even get out of their house. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's
different.
it's very fortunate there. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's I would say I usually take Sundays completely off.
Yeah.
So
You're like Chick-fil-A.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just like hey, so no more swinging it.
No more swinging it. Yep.
How's that feel to the soul? Do you still do big BP? Just the
No, it's just
Oh, you just let it go.
golf instead now. So the golf game's enjoying it, but
so your swing does transition. Mine didn't, dude. Mine did not transition to golf. I mean, I was inside out everything. Elbow sucked. My back sucked. I had a couple of hernia discs, and so
Just flailing golf balls onto the third hole.
Yeah, I'm not a golfer. It did not transition.
yeah, I mean, I love golf. It's just so expensive to play, especially around here.
Yeah.
A lot of nice courses. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good courses, but they're proud of them too. So, so do I really want to go drop $40 on the most average course ever?
Right. Or drop 125 and play something nice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's whenever I go to spring training, we get some decent discounts.
Where are you guys at? I don't even know where the Mets are.
St. Lucie?
Just,
Yeah.
Right
So
off,
down on the East Coast, yeah.
right off 95, easy drive.
You drive it, or
Yeah.
you ship your car?
I drive it.
Okay.
I drive it. I don't mind the drive. Probably like 9.5 hours.
It's legitimately just a straight.
You get on 95, and you like as soon as you get on 95, like near Fayetteville, you're just going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Carolina, very wide state, underrated.
It is.
It feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 95 portion of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you stop it south of the border?
No, I usually go. No, it's funny you say I've never seen any cars.
Me neither. They got me right.
Hey.
That's what I'm saying. There's
That's
never
only way they're doing it.
anybody there. I'm like, what are they
And
doing?
they keep going. I feel like that
They
little.
got something new every day.
Yeah, something new there every time.
Like, it's got to be a front.
I've stopped there one time with the family.
What? There?
There was a handful of workers. I think we were the only like legitimate patrons. You're like, what? What's this tall fella? Like, yeah, 3 of his kids. It's not an ice cream shop, fella. Yeah.
It's for cocaine.
I've
Yeah.
never seen a single car there. But I usually stop like the Georgia South Carolina border.
Yeah.
I got like a cheap Honda Accord last off season.
Nice.
I've been driving it. 2001 Silverado.
Oh, beautiful.
My whole life, still got it, still drive it.
Yeah.
But just going back and forth to Florida, it was pretty unethical.
Yeah.
And unlogical. Like trying to fill up 4 times just to get it.
Yeah, just get switch training.
Yeah. So
So double A is where is it? Binghamton? Where's the?
It was Binghamton, yeah.
And they're
basically my house now, or like where I live at now, is directly in between like Binghamton and Florida.
And AAA is Syracuse, right?
Yeah, so like an hour north.
Yeah. A very gray. I played very gray city.
Yeah.
A lot of cloud coverage. A lot of overcast.
Sunny days.
I played against they were the Syracuse Sky Chiefs at the time. I don't know.
Very cold state.
New York, yeah. So I had opening day 2003. I was in the International League, so I was pitching for Pawtucket. We opened in Buffalo.
That sounds terrible.
It was game time temperature was 27 degrees, and I was warming up with like literally a sweatshirt and a jacket on.
Yeah.
Got to where I was sweating a little bit, and then
Problem is like,
they did the national anthem,
yeah,
but because it was opening day, they did the Canadian national anthem too.
oh gosh,
So I was back to square one. I ended up going 3 innings, but legitimately it started like sleeting. It's like some form of precipitation. And then icicles formed on the grass. The catcher's mask had like icicles hanging from it. The only reason we played is because it was opening day.
yeah.
And then we went into got weathered out the next 3 days. We go back home, get snowed out for 4 days. Like we legitimately didn't. Like, why don't we just open every game in Norfolk or Durham or Charlotte? And I know that they probably have a few teams down there, but there's one in Georgia now, right? In that league, I think.
Who it is?
Yeah. But let's
the Braves games.
yeah, Rome maybe. Well, let's head south, guys. Let's not go to Buffalo.
So
How's that?
it was better to be in the South than it was in the North that time.
Oh God, yeah.
So I was, we took we had a 2-week road trip. So now like it's 6 days.
Yeah.
6 days.
Oh, yeah, how is that? That's
It's
something we skipped over.
Yeah, it's nice. And so we were in Georgia for 6 days, and then we were in Bowling Green, Kentucky for 6 days. And that was like my last week in high. It was Bowling Green, Kentucky. And so we had to fly out of Nashville to go back home to New York, and then I was hopping in an Uber to go to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And like, this is crazy.
It's a lot of traveling, and that's the thing people don't
take care of us, like XLs and stuff.
Oh, nice.
We can stretch out. Like, it's not like we're just taking regular cabs or anything.
Yeah.
Like that, luckily.
Yeah.
So they're starting to like really look after us.
A little bit better than you.
Like,
and me.
We were on buses.
To get reimbursements for our like mileage if we do drive.
Oh, nice.
And they've changed the rule now. They'll ship your car one way.
Yeah.
So that's nice too. Like,
God, they're just taking care of y'all, aren't they?
And even I know the minority pay is much better than it was when we came.
Yeah.
It's all because of the union. Like, that's changed a lot of things for us.
Yeah. I just wasn't smart enough to start a union, I guess.
Or maybe they weren't strong enough to care about minor league.
Well, that was the method. I was like, hey, you're putting in your dues. If you work hard enough and things work out, it'll work out for you. But
well, dude, that's awesome. Hey, well, I appreciate you doing this, bro.
No, thanks for being here, man. We appreciate it, and good luck this season. And hopefully, we'll be able to keep up with you through spring training and during the season. Check in with you, and we'd love to just follow up. And I'm sure our listeners would love to hear how you progress through the season.
Thing to get in here, it'd be fun.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome. So, anything you want to share with? Actually, one last thing. So again, we both have 13-year-old boys, and we coach a lot of kids and see a lot of kids. What's one message or a couple things you would share with kids that age now? What would you encourage them to do?
I would say more for the parents than anything. Like, let the kids be kids.
Yeah.
If they want to go to the field, get them to the field, but don't force it upon them because then you're just going to make baseball miserable. And I grew up with so many great athletes that sports became miserable to them because their parents loved it more than they did.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. Like,
Great message.
Yeah, like, let your kid be a kid when he wants to be a kid, and when he wants to play baseball, let him play baseball. Like, if your kid loves playing it and wants to play 100 games a year, let him play 100 games a year. But if he wants to play Call of Duty and hang out with his buddies and play once a week, do that too. Like, make baseball fun. Like, that's the whole point, isn't it? And from if you do love baseball, then I mean, there's no better thing than giving your life to baseball and just like fully buying in on it. Some of the greatest. It's the most rewarding game for hard work.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to actually get results.
Wow. 100%.
Well said. Well said.
Well said. Well, again, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, and good luck this season.
Appreciate it.
Go back, baby.